Hi, thanks for being with me again. This is going to be a very quick video because I want to just touch on a strategy for spring cleaning that works for a lot of couples, especially people who are new to exploring all of their emotions or communicating those. There are a lot of people who have been raised to not speak about their feelings, either to push them down and deny they even have them, or to cover them up so that you don't ever say what's really going on. And when you have these experiences, when you have caregivers, parents, and teachers telling you either that's not how you feel, or that's not what it should be, or there's something wrong with you for having these emotions, it really does shake the core of who you are. And so there needs to be space and grace for people to get back in touch with their feelings. And sometimes there's a lot of flooding, especially think about like hot, fiery, explosive, angry conflicts. Or the opposite of that, cold, dark, isolated, silent treatment conflicts. Either one of those prevents the person from feeling that they can safely say their feelings, because either they're going to be trampled on in this big explosive argument, or they're going to be abandoned and rejected and shut down in the silent treatment strategy. So sometimes a communication journal is exactly what a couple needs to get through the hump of building that psychological, emotional, and spiritual safe space. How this works is exactly how it sounds. You have a book and somebody starts writing about an interaction that you just had. So say, for example, you had a conflict this morning and you're still feeling fired up and you're still feeling wronged and you're still feeling vengeful and you're still feeling hurt. You would go and you would write out your side of the story, what you felt, how you interpreted things, what you believed to be true, what you inferred, so what you understood, whether or not that was what the person intended, how it came across to you, and then how you felt. Really how you felt and what it means for you to feel those things. And then you really close up the journal and you give it to your partner and you say, my story is in there. I would love to hear your story. And then they take their time. They can either read your story or you set the ground rule that they write their own story before they read yours, right? So they write theirs, you write theirs, and you come together and you read the other person's story. It's really hard to still have that level of contempt or resentment or defensive reactionary behavior when you are reading how sad or how scared or how frustrated or how exasperated or how worried your partner was. You might not even have thought of those emotions, but here it is all spelled out for you that they were worried sick, that something, had happened to you and they didn't know. And so when you got home, they pounced all over you because it was from worry and fear. You didn't think that. You thought control and manipulation, right? So when you have the pressure taken off of an intense face-to-face conflict, you really can explore a little bit more. This is like taking your internal journaling, but creating it for an audience. Your internal journal is for you and you alone. But a communication journal is for your partner and for you to bridge that gap. That's why it lives in spring, because it's a spring cleaning strategy, especially for people who aren't fully in touch with their emotions as fast as the other person. I see this a lot with, relationships of people who had been taught for many years, boys don't cry. Boys don't feel soft. Boys don't feel hurt. Toughen it up. Be a man. All this kind of like toxic masculinity messaging means that the men in these relationships aren't necessarily in touch with those feelings, or if they do feel them, there's shame and there's embarrassment and they think, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. I'm such a softie. Like this can't be normal. Men don't feel this. And so there's a lot of cultural messaging that has been wrapped up in emotion, and it does take time. And in a hot, heated, passionate argument with their love partner, they can't sort through all of this. Wait a minute, I'm feeling this, but I shouldn't be feeling, there's a lot going on. Having it out of the frenetic energy of the face-to-face conversation where emotional flooding is very likely, you can process it differently. You can say how you feel. You can be vulnerable with your partner. You can take responsibility for the things that you could have done differently. You could apologize for your role or be curious about something that happened and say, I don't understand why you said that, right? I don't understand where that came from. Your partner who's reading this later can then reflect on this and think, oh wow, I didn't know that at all, right? I wasn't able to peek inside their mind. I was so reactionary. I was in winter. I was in my own storm. I was hurt. I was lashing out. I was retaliating. I was trying to gain control. I wanted to win the argument. Whatever it was that was driving them at the time, they can kind of take that down a little bit and see it differently. So a communication journal is a really fantastic strategy if you need to have a little bit more time. If you are a slower emotional processor, if you happen to be in a relationship with like a whip smart lawyer, kind of person who is a, captain on the debate team, chances are you will feel a little bit overwhelmed with their ability to be on point, on task, drilling, hammering. That's a lot for someone who doesn't have that kind of communication skill, right? Of this very intense, hyper-focused communication strategy. So a communication journal works perfectly because it levels the playing field of emotion, of quickness, of the use of words, of the ability to pull past experiences and put them in present day. Some people just can't remember. They knew something like this happened before, but they're just like, oh my gosh, I can't find it in my filing cabinet in my brain. But later on, they can say, oh, I felt this 2 weeks ago when this happened. And so I'm getting a little bit worried that this is a pattern or something, right? So you can actually slowly and methodically create your point of view as a more complete picture than just this very fractured argument where you're not really listening to the other person, you're really trying to get your point across. So consider a communication journal if this might be beneficial for you and your partner, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a forever thing. Some people like it. Some people absolutely use it as a forever thing and they write love notes, and so it becomes a place of communicating beautiful things, but also of communicating things where they're afraid they're losing those beautiful moments, right? So it really captures a lot of the intricacies of your relationship, both beautiful and places where you can get better. So if this works for you, I encourage you to try and see how it goes and see what it looks like to really explore your feelings without the pressure of time and the intensity of face-to-face. Now, it might take a couple of sessions going back and forth to really know if this is going to work. So if you just wrote something and think, oh, this is terrible, I can't do this, that wasn't enough time. If you're going to commit to this, commit for a month or two and see how it works, how it feels, how it flows. If it develops intimacy better for you, if it deepens your relationship, if it makes your connection more profound, sounds like something would be working for you to continue, but you get to decide. I just wanted to introduce you to the concept. All right, I will see you in the next video, everyone. Thanks for joining.